Today is day 2 of my 7-day water only fast. And during my water only fast, I am having water only. I am using reverse osmosis water because I have a reverse osmosis water system in my house, but you could use distilled water. So that means I will be having, for the prescription of this water fast, I will be having only water, rest, and prayer. Now, I know it's popular in a lot of cases for people to say you can have other things while doing a fast, but my understanding is that you need to have nothing but water. Well, can't you have coffee? No. Can't you have herbal teas? No. Can I put lemon in my water? No. Clear water only. You also can't have any protein shakes or electrolytes added to your water. You may want to do a fast a different way, but this is the way that I'm doing the fast, and that is based off the information that I've gotten in many places, but definitely the most significant source is Dr. Goldhammer of the True North Health Care Center. And he's been doing it for 40 years. So he's been running his center for 40 years and has fasted over like 25,000 people. So I kind of believe that he's got some really good information. Now I say rest, but I can't be on. If I'm being honest, I have not yet rested fully. I've kind of rested, but not really. So after I recorded yesterday's episode for day 1 of my fast, I sat down with my newly 18-year-old son, who we call cameraman, and we did a podcast. And the podcast episode that we did yesterday correlates perfectly with this fasting series. I think we're calling it something like growing up with a weight and food obsessed mother, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to call it, but it's going to be something in that vein, because let's be truth here, kids. Let's be truth. Let's be real here, kids. He has grown up with a weight and food obsessed mother. So we recorded that podcast. Then we went to vote, because it is time for the primaries for governor and all the other things that we've got going on here in California. I don't know if it's across the United States, but we're definitely having them right now in California. So we went to vote. He got to vote for the first time ever because he only turned 18 last week. And then in the evening, my husband and I went to a prayer event to pray for this election and for our state as a whole, because I hate to tell you, but California is wacky. Very, very wacky, and headed in a very, very awful direction. And things have just gotten so much wackier over the last decade or more. So we did that. Now, the good thing about all of the things that I did yesterday that were not exactly resting is that I was able to sit through all of it, except the voting, where I was standing for a bit. So then I came home last night and I went to bed about 8 o'clock. No, what am I thinking? We'll get to that in a minute. I went to sleep about probably 8:30 or so. I normally go to bed about 7:30 because on the weekends I work Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I get up at 3:15 in the morning. So I maintain that sleep schedule all throughout the week. I don't wake up at 3:15 on my off days. I usually wake up about 5:30, which is when I woke up this morning. I woke up at 5:30 naturally. I felt well rested. I slept really well, and I only got up to pee once, which can be amazing, because sometimes I get up to pee. Like last Friday, I got up to pee 4 times in the middle of the night before I had to go to work the next day, and I'm like, you're killing me with this. I need sleep. I have to get up at 3:15. And So when I woke up this morning, I took my pulse. It was at a very nice 60 beats per minute, which is ideal. So I'm feeling really good about that. Then I got up and I hopped on the scale, and it showed that I had a 2-pound weight loss yesterday. Now, over the last 3 months, I have already lost 30 pounds just by changing my diet from a standard American diet, which did not include meat, because I haven't eaten meat for like 19 years, actually a little over 19 years. But I was eating a lot of other stuff, even though I have a diet, I have for several years had a diet that was very much based with a lot of, healthy foods in it. I was still partaking of enough processed foods and dairy that it was definitely causing inflammation in my body. So doctor said, you need to go on an anti-inflammatory diet. So I did. I dropped the 30 pounds. And so as of this morning, I'm down 32 pounds. Now those 2 pounds that I lost yesterday are probably not real pounds. They are likely entirely water and glycogen. So I went over in the day 1 fasting video about glycogen. So if you're interested in that, please definitely check that out. I will be placing, let's say I have placed by the time you see it, the playlist for this entire fasting series, as well as the podcast that cameraman and I did yesterday, in the description below if you're interested in what this fast looks like from start to finish, and a lot of the mania of what goes into a crooked brain around food and weight that I have experienced myself as a 50-year-old woman over the last 30 years. Really over the last 19 years. It all started right around the same time that I stopped eating meat. That was part of the first big segment of losing 70 pounds. So it has been just about 48 hours since I last ate. And so far, I've been feeling pretty decently. Yesterday was a breeze. I had, some tummy grumbles, but I didn't have any really super overwhelming desire to eat. And I just, sipped on water all day long. By the end of the day, I did experience quite a bit of mouth drying, like I had dehydrated more by the end of the day, but woke up completely hydrated this morning. So I'm not sure what caused that feeling then, but it was rectified this morning. You would think I would have been like parched this morning when I first got up, but I was not. And I woke up with a fair amount of energy this morning, feeling mostly normal. I have noticed over the number of times that I have fasted for more than a day, usually about the 24-hour mark, my legs start to ache, which is very interesting. I haven't figured out why that happens, but I did have some mild achiness in my legs yesterday, and that went away overnight while I was sleeping. I don't have that achiness today. I do have a little bit of a tightness here, and my shoulder hurts just a little tiny bit, but that could have been just based off the way I was sleeping. And I also noticed I just looked in the mirror with my glasses off, and it seems like, I don't know if you'd be able to see, but I'm almost kind of pinkish, almost bruised looking right here. So I'm expecting that I might get some owl eyes over the next few days. If I remember correctly, I think I've had that before when I have fasted. I am definitely experiencing a change in energy level today. I was kind of fine until the middle of my Bible study. And right about 11 o'clock, I just started to go like, okay, my energy level has gone down. And Dr. Goldhammer says don't drive in the middle of your fast. And I thought, okay, I'll be fine the first 2 days. But after today, I am not getting in the car and driving at all. And that was the original plan. And now that I've driven today and had a kind of a lower energy level, I'm definitely going to stick to that, because on the way home, I was almost a little bit scared, because I was like, I noticed that my driving wasn't as good as it normally is. And I'm a pretty decent driver, but I was kind of wondering a little bit. I mean, it wasn't like I was sleepy, like my eyes were closing or anything, but the energy just, like not there. And so my understanding is you don't want to drive during a fast, because your reaction times are so much slower. And I think that's kind of what I was noticing as I was driving. So I do have one more place I need to go today, my second Bible study, because I always do a morning and a night Bible study on Tuesdays, because I can't go to church and be part of the community as a whole on Sundays, because I work 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I watch online, and then I do these 2 Bible studies so that I feel like I'm doing what it is that I need to be doing. And so I have one more. So hopefully all that will go well. It's not as far as the first Bible study, so it's not too far from my house. So hopefully that will go okay. I did have quite a grumbly tummy this morning. I mean, it was just like, rah, rah, rah. But I didn't really have any desire to eat mouth-wise. And which is a little bit interesting to me, because usually on day 2, day 1, I kind of sail through it. It's like not far off from any other normal day. But day 2, I usually am dreaming all day long about the foods that I'm going to be able to eat the next day, because I usually only do 2 days. I'm really surprised that I'm not dreaming of food today. So I'm very, very grateful for that. And okay, checking my notes. Oh, that goes perfectly with what comes next. One thing I do typically experience on day two is by the end of the day, I am getting really loopy. Like mentally, the cognition is just not quite there. And today is no exception. And if you really want to know, which I don't know if you really want to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The tragicness of this is that I already recorded this video once, and there was a problem with the audio, which historically has been my nemesis, because if there's a chance to ruin the audio, somehow I'm going to do it. And today was no exception. So I'm actually having to do this again. I already sat down for a half an hour and talked to the camera, and I am kind of tired, and I do want to get to that kind of like sitting and doing nothing resting phase. And I noticed after I got up from doing this video that I was kind of wiped out. So that happened. So I apologize if I am coming across as slightly incoherent, and if I open loops and don't close them because I thought I talked about them, but I didn't, and this is my second time around, and I could easily think I covered something this time that I didn't because it's in my mind from covering it last time. But since I have my notes. So preparing for the fast. What my understanding is that I learned in this heavy immersing myself into trying to figure out what kind of fast I wanted to do and how to do it properly, because ideally you would be supervised by a physician while you're doing a fast like this. But what came down to it is push come to shove, I just couldn't afford it. And so I'm working with the best information that I have, including having got my blood work done and monitoring like my blood pressure, my pulse. I think I'm even gonna run down the hall and grab Granny's finger poker to check my blood sugar and see how that goes. My understanding is as you get into like a ketosis state, your blood sugar kind of drops, but your ketones go up, and which makes sense. If you don't have glycogen stores, you don't have the sugar in your body that is fueling you for your energy, it makes sense to me that your blood sugar might go down a little bit. But the main thing is, because I have all my adult life, here and there, I run through periods of time where I have problems with hypoglycemic episodes. And so my blood sugar will drop, and then I have problems with my vision, and I just don't feel quite right, and I have to run and eat something. These days it's a date. If I have a couple of dates, my blood sugar comes back and I'm good. But the hallmark is like, how are you feeling? So even if the blood sugar shows that it's down a little bit, it's probably not a problem if I'm feeling okay. But historically, when I have done fasts, I have not prepared for the fast super diligently. I will eat pretty much whatever I want, and like they call it Last Supper eating, right? You're never gonna have this amazing food again, right? So you eat that, and that affects you going into your fast. And so historically, by the third morning, I am feeling pretty crappy and wake up at about 3 a.m. with feeling nauseated and sometimes a raging headache. And then I just reach for the closest banana, because that has historically been the way that I break a fast, which I will not be doing this time. I have a very different protocol for what it is I'm doing to break the fast, because that is actually the absolute most important part of the fast, is breaking it properly. But so historically, I have not prepared properly for a fast. So what is recommended is that you, at least for 2 days before you start your fast, you stop all caffeine intake and eat exclusively raw or steamed vegetables and fruits. What I did is, I am a black coffee drinker, so a week prior to starting this fast, I chucked the delicious black coffee that has like a vanilla essence to it and traded it out for herbal teas. Luckily, I have some fancy herbal teas that I've had around for a few years, and so I just drink that, no sweetener or anything in it. And then for the 2 days prior to starting the fast, I was working, but I took all my food with me. For breakfast, I ate a baked sweet potato. So the inside, the outside, the skin and everything, only the potato. So what I do to make that is I literally just clean it off, stab it a few times with a fork, cut off the ends, throw it into the oven. So I had that both Saturday and Sunday for breakfast. And then both days for lunch, I had steamed green beans, edamame, and snap peas with some steamed potatoes as well. Like, I cut them into little cubes and then I steam them in the steamer basket. Those potatoes actually came out of my yard. So my garden produced those beautiful potatoes, red potatoes, and these amazing, like super purple all the way through potatoes. They were so good. But you would think that Steamed vegetables with no salt would be absolutely disgusting, right? No, they weren't absolutely disgusting. And that was kind of a shock to me, sort of. I was expecting that I would be sitting there thinking, this needs salt, and like gagging it down, but it was fine. And after eating just vegetables, I was satiated for like 4 hours solid. Like I wasn't even sort of like, man, are we getting close to my last break yet? Because like I'm getting hungry. It was just like, no, I'm good. And so I was very happy about that. On Sunday, I also had some blueberries, some fresh blueberries with my lunch. And 3 months ago, I did not like fresh blueberries at all. Like they were disgusting. I don't know what the difference between fresh blueberries and the ones that come in my muffins are, but I'm sure sugar's a factor, but like the flavor itself is so very different. So anyways, 3 months ago, I hated blueberries and now I can totally eat them, and they're not amazing. I don't love them, but they're so good for you that I am hoping that eventually I will love fresh blueberries. Maybe after this fast. Could happen. And then for dinner, on Saturday, I had some watermelon, which was delicious, but you know, it's watermelon, so what do you expect? Then the last meal that I had on Sunday, I finished eating about 4 o'clock. And that one, I started out with a soup that I found online on YouTube, where Chef AJ, if you know who she is, you probably do, but Chef AJ brought Ramses Bravo, who is the chef at True North Health Center, onto her program, and they showed how to make this soup based off of zucchini, Yukon Gold potatoes, and water, and that's it. No salt, no nothing, just plain. And I made that, except my zucchini also included some yellow squash because for some strange reason, Target sells them in like a duo, and you can't just buy just zucchini by itself. And I had already gone to Sprouts, and so that was my option. I had gone to Sprouts and they didn't have any zucchini that day. I remember. So anyways, I made the soup and I ate it, and it was awful. It was so bad. It was so bad that after a few bites, I was like, all right, let's shovel this stuff in there. And all I was thinking the whole time is, this needs salt. Like everything else didn't need the salt, but I could not taste any of the natural salt that's in food. I could not taste it in this. I don't know if it's because I put too much water or because I didn't use enough zucchini, or I don't know, but it was bad. I'm not a huge fan of zucchini to begin with. So I was like shoveling it in, and like the second it would hit my tongue, I would like swallow and gulp down, because I'm like, I just need to get this in because this is my last meal. Like, how am I going to get enough to be satisfied for at least the next 4 hours while I digest? So I dumped the soup. I ate maybe half to 2/3 of it. And I dumped the soup because it was just that bad, and I'm not looking forward to that again. And I did have some leftover potatoes because I had gotten full, and so I finished potatoes from my lunch. And then for dessert, I had the most amazing thing ever, which if you've never had them, you're missing out. But I have a dehydrator, and so I took slices of banana, thin slices of banana, and I put them in the dehydrator, and I dehydrated them for probably about 36 hours, and they are tasty, delicious dehydrated banana chips. Amazing. Way different than the stuff you get in the store that I believe is fried. It's not even dehydrated, and it's like, I think they're plantain chips, but they have no flavor. They taste like cardboard. So what is that? Anyway, so these banana chips are amazing. And they're a little bit cumbersome to eat because they're crunchy, but then they kind of gum down, and it's kind of bit of work to eat them. But I think that's probably a good thing because they're so good. I could easily like eat way too many without thinking about it. And so this actually makes it to where I eat less of them because my jaws actually start to get tired. But you have to be careful with any type of concentrated foods anyways, because when you dehydrate, when you take the water out of any food, it concentrates the flavor. Ooh, come to think of it, that might be why the blueberries taste better in my pastries as well. Not that I get to eat anything like that anymore. Yeah. That's got to be that you have to be really careful. Sorry, loopy all over the place. You have to be very careful about anything that's had the water reduced out of it. It concentrates the salts and it concentrates the sugar in them, which makes them more tasty. I mean, if you've ever made soup, like a stew of some sort, right? And like just anything, meat or no meat or whatever. I don't use meat. I haven't had meat in 19 years, but anytime that if you've made a soup and you've made it in like, okay, it only takes like half an hour to make it. Okay, it's decent. But if you make the same soup and you let it kind of simmer and just like reduce down for about an hour, the soup becomes infinitely tastier. And so that's the only way I make soups now is I give it the time that it needs to kind of reduce down, which also means you can, if you use salt, which I do still use salt, I just don't use a ton of salt. I have kind of reduced the amount of salt I add to the foods I make about by half. So if it's calling for, a teaspoon, I put half a teaspoon. And when you reduce down like in soups, the salt concentrates anyway, and so it's still super flavorful. So preparing this way for the fast, I think has made the experience thus far even a little more mild than what I have experienced in the past. And you can probably see how preparing your body the way that I have, eating primarily fruits, vegetables, grains, whole real foods, healthy fats, nuts, seeds, avocado, over the last 3 months that allowed me to lose the weight that I've lost so far without doing any exercise whatsoever, because I'm prohibited from being able to do exercise by the pain in my feet, and my preferred method of exercise is walking. So like I haven't been able to exercise. So I dropped the 30 pounds. I didn't restrict anything that I was eating other than I was eating better foods. So putting all those better foods into my body for the last 3 months, plus taking the caffeine out a week ago, and then being super strict over the weekend of just the fruits and vegetables. You could probably see how that like primes the body to be able to do a full and complete fast easier. However many days you fast, even if you only fasted for 2 days. I am definitely here to tell you that it makes a difference what you do the days preceding your fast. But I am really interested to see what happens tomorrow when I wake up, because typically day 3, I wake up feeling a wreck. And I'm expecting that the roughest day is gonna be tomorrow for me, and I won't be going anywhere, I won't be doing anything, but I will talk to you for a few minutes. If I feel really good, maybe we'll cover some of the different hygienic processes that I'm doing a little bit differently this week, because you don't want to put extra chemicals on your skin, which is your biggest organ. You don't really want to be putting chemicals, being exposed to chemicals while you're doing this, because your body is detoxifying. So you're kind of hindering the process if you do some of that putting on of chemical items. And so I've changed some things. So if I'm feeling well enough, maybe I'll cover that tomorrow. I also want to go over one of these days what I have been doing with my my Bible study stuff. And so I am working on, I asked the leader of the Bible study that I do in the morning on Tuesdays, I asked her a few weeks ago to maybe pray, and she clearly hears from God. Like, you can just tell that she does. And I asked her to pray for me and give me a topic or a book of the Bible to dig into during this fast, because I do want to incorporate prayer with my fasting, and then also, you know, the Bible study as well. And so she came up with the topic of breakthrough. She said that she heard, like when she was talking to me, she actually said it. And then she came the week later with some resources for me. But she just said, breakthrough, you're going to have a breakthrough. And then when she came with the resources, it was all about having a breakthrough. So she determined that that's what God told her that I needed to do, was study up on breakthrough from the biblical standpoint. And so, I already this morning, when I was going through some of that information and digging deep into it, I encountered a verse that I have heard thousands of times, that I've read many times myself, that just was in a completely new light to me, because, and this just happened to be, one of the verses dealt with fasting. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. But the verse that I read would not, and has not ever prior to now, ever made full and complete sense to me. And it's not that it didn't make sense, is I wasn't getting the full picture. And because of my learning all about fasting, it is why this was so profound for me. And so I am super excited to go over that as well. So one of those will be probably tomorrow's episode. But we have many more days of this, because there's 7 days of the fast, and then I will be going through the refeeding process of what I'm doing and how I'm feeling and what my overall experience was. So we've got many more days of this. I clearly have no problem talking into the camera for half an hour twice in one day about the same subject. So we'll see how it goes over the next few days, and see you next time.